Hi everybody, welcome back to the Wonder of Anime YouTube channel. I am Lisa, and in this video I wanted to talk about my manga library and my process and my philosophy when it comes to buying physical media and how it has grown and changed over the years. For those who don't know, I have been collecting manga since I started working at 16 years old, so a little bit over 16 years now. And throughout this process, I have grown a lot. My thoughts and my values have grown and taken hold. And I thought this would be a really interesting video to share my perspectives because I feel like I approach it in a different way than others, and I do so very intentionally. Just to start off, a quick disclaimer: this is not to shade or put down anyone else's process. There are a lot of manga collectors on the internet. There are a lot of people that I know, mutuals of mine, do have manga collection, and they may have something completely different than what I do. This is just me personally, me, Lisa, and what I do or don't do isn't me casting judgment on what somebody else does. Starting off, I will start off with how I got into collecting manga. So I have been reading manga. I've been into anime probably all my life, but I started reading manga when I was in the 5th grade, and I discovered it in the public library. And obviously, I did not have the means to buy manga, so I read manga up until I was in high school. And after I got my first job, something that I was really into was like eBay, and I realized that I wanted to specifically collect all of Clamp manga. For those who know, if this is your first video here, I am a huge Clamp fan. Clamp has absolutely changed and transformed my life. And at that period of time, I decided I want to collect Clamp manga. I want to read everything that they have. And I figured the best way to read it would be to purchase the volumes that were available. So I started on eBay actually, and I would buy manga that people were selling in lots. And I've gotten a lot of really great manga that way. But that's initially how I got my start. And then once I went off to college and, was working, I didn't really have it financially to buy manga. So it wasn't until maybe late in my later 20s where I finally was in a position where I'm like, oh, I have disposable income. I can buy manga. And that, I feel like, really, like a lot of people, really transformed in 2020 when we were in shutdown and not being outside, not being able to buy stuff. Suddenly found myself having a lot of disposable income. And I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to finish my Clamp collection. Let me start there and let me start getting other manga that I like and that I want to read. I have been creating content since 2015. So even before I focused with like an anime manga lens. And once I started collecting manga, I started, of course, making manga related content. I would do manga haul videos, just being like, hey, this is all the stuff that I bought towards my Clamp collection, towards my non-Clamp collection. And I would do those type of haul videos. And at that time, I was getting a lot of manga, so I had a lot of haul videos that I was doing. And at the same time, I started also working towards my Clamp analysis video series that I was doing. So that played a role in that as well. And I was kind of late on TikTok, but I started like posting some of what I was doing on YouTube on TikTok. And I wasn't very consistent with this. So it wasn't like every week I had a manga haul, but for a little while, I definitely was doing a lot of manga hauls. By the time 2022 rolled around, that's when me and my husband bought our house. And now I have a dedicated like nerd cave. I was really able to, I had a bunch of boxes at that point of manga, and I was really buying, I would say, things that I was interested in and things that I knew that I wanted to have. So I really love the Attack on Titan anime, and even though I didn't finish watching the anime, I wanted the manga. Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, those type of shonen series, as well as like shoujo and just anything that I loved. This is also when I started getting into BL, so I started just buying random BL. I would be on Amazon and be like, this looks good, this looks good, this looks good, and just start buying random BL titles. And now I don't even count how much I own. Last time I counted was a couple years ago, and it was a lot. And I have since not done that. What I will then move on to is kind of like why I stopped with the specific manga haul content and changing the way that I collect manga. For me, I've kind of have, and this isn't just manga related, but I think many people have commented on this before, that TikTok started moving in a way where it moved from like sharing your things to now trying to sell those things. And everyone is like selling you something, and you got the TikTok shop, and everything just felt very consumeristic. And then on the content creating side, I began to ask myself, like, what is the purpose of me sharing these hauls and sharing specifically like what, like how much manga I got in this one purchase, and like what I'm doing that, like what am I accomplishing with that? I think something that I've held strong in my years of creating content is that I aim to create content like with intention. I'm not chasing like algorithms. Many of you guys know I have no intention of being a full-time content creator. This is a hobby and a passion for me, and I've always been a creative person. So this is like a creative outlet. And I just kept challenging myself whenever I wanted to do a haul video, like, what is the purpose of this? Like, it's not like you're getting any commission off manga or anything like that. Are you trying to say, hey, look at me, look at my collection? Like, what is the purpose in that? And that, I feel like, really started shifting the perspective for me. I think also at this time, everyone's doing manga hauls, everyone's doing manga content. And we really had this like boom of everyone just buying all this manga and stuff. And for me, I kind of was like, okay, like this isn't really aligning with my values as a person and what I feel like I want to achieve with my content. And I stop that. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to be doing that. I will, and I still will do like manga mail. So, I got this pre-order that I was super excited about. I got this new manga or whatever, and like one at a time. But I stopped really buying manga in bulk like that. And I also stopped sharing buying manga in bulk like that. And something that you've seen, and one of my mutuals, Laura, she did a great video on her manga collection and like her shift in buying manga. And she talked about it as well. Like, you know, everyone was buying manga in that like 2020 COVID boom. And then a lot of those people ended up just selling their manga, and they kind of they were buying manga to like be manga creators versus like just they love manga and they want to own manga and they want to have it. So that was really a shift for me, and I'm really glad that I ended up doing that, because for me personally, manga isn't just like, oh, I have this manga, come to my house, I have Attack on Titan. Like I love reading and I love story. The crux of everything I do is storytelling. And I don't think you need to see everything that I have in order for you to trust that, like, I love manga and I love storytelling. So that kind of initiated that shift. And I say this like completely honestly, like I definitely started buying. At that time, I was buying manga really haphazardly and just like, oh, this looks cool, I'll get it. This looks cool, I get it. And I'm a firm believer in supporting artists and supporting companies and supporting legal licenses, because that's how people get paid. That's how you get more access to things. But I just realized that I needed to be more intentional and just stop buying things or like the minute that they came out, because I was like afraid like I wasn't going to access it anymore. Now that you know what has shifted my mind and like how my content and my mindset has shifted with buying manga and also making content about having manga and, you know, all of that thought process, this is what I currently do. Like, these are my processes and my decisions when it comes to collecting now, and what I buy physically, what I buy digitally, and why. Being intentional for me is the biggest thing, because I own a home, I have a family, and while yes, we have this dedicated space for all of my nerd things, my husband's nerd things, space is not unlimited. And I don't want to have thousands upon thousands of books to sit on a shelf that I am not reading, that I am not revisiting just because it looks good. Something about me when it comes to books is that I am a chronic rereader. I will randomly be like, oh my God, I want to reread Chobits right now, and come downstairs and read Chobits. I randomly want to read this one BL one shot. I will come downstairs and grab that. At any point of the week, there are stacks of manga near my bed because I'm like, oh, I felt like rereading this week. So a big factor in what I buy now is this something that I want to consistently revisit? And I don't have to reread it every week. There's some books I probably reread once or twice a year, but that is enough for me to want to have it, is I am constantly wanting to go and revisit this story. Another thing that I consider when purchasing manga, and I'm saying manga, this falls under manhwa and manhwas as well, or graphic novels, is, can I live without the story in my physical possession? If this publisher goes under, if this goes out of print, will I be okay not having this at my disposal? And sometimes the answer is yes, I will absolutely be okay if I don't own this. I used to think I had to have everything by a certain publisher, and that is absolutely just not the way that I can live. So I really try to be intentional. Like, can I live without this story? And some stories I cannot, because I want to read them. I want to live in the pages. I want the pages to live in my skin. So that is a factor for me, is can I live without owning this if the publisher were to go away, if it goes out of print and it's never going to be reprinted again. I will say something that has also helped is that I just don't believe things are going to be unavailable forever. I do not believe things are going to be unavailable forever. So that has stopped me from purchasing things right away. Sometimes I will wait. Sometimes I'll wait months. Sometimes I'll wait till more volumes are out to purchase it, because I know, like, there's no rush for me to get this right this second. When it comes to manhwas, which are Korean comics, I am very intentional on purchasing my favorite series that I'm like, if Leshin goes down, if Manta goes down, I want this story. So that is another factor, is with specifically, I feel like Korean comics is a little bit different than Japanese manga, because I feel like the webtoon boom happened, so webtoons are like super popular, but you just don't know with these public, like, these companies, we don't know how they're operating behind the scenes. So those, if they're available, and it's a webtoon that I revisit all the time, like The New Recruit, Dangerous Convenience Store, the Night Painter, Semantic Error, those immediately I'm purchasing because I revisit the webtoon all the time. I know that, okay, this is something I'm going to get at a lot of value owning, because I love this story and I want to be able to access it if Leshin goes down tomorrow. Does this mean that I have spent money twice on the same stories? Absolutely. But I have the money, so I'm okay with buying it, in chapters, because then, that's also going to the artist at that moment, and me buying the chapters is a factor in how these get licensed, because, if enough people are buying it, there's a demand for it to be printed. So that, to me, is worth it for me to buy the chapters digitally and hope that later they come out physically. And the minute they are available in physical print, I am buying them and supporting that release. Another thing that I keep in mind, and this is so serious, is the government and government banning. Like, we know they are trying to censor things, especially things that are foreign media from other countries that there's not an understanding of. Some of the BL and not BL that I read is very explicit, and we're seeing now, even online, certain platforms are being taken down because MasterCard and Visa don't want to like support transactions that may be things that are sexual in nature. So owning it physically makes sense because it may not be available. And some stories, again, that are stories that I reread, that I want to have forever, I need to own them. There's also things that I prioritize, like a series versus a one shot. There are many one shots that have captivated, have me in a chokehold, that I love and absolutely need to own. But a lot of them are just great stories, but not stories that I find that I will be rereading often. So I don't find that the need to own it physically. Something I will say that helps, and this is because of what I do as the Wonder of Anime, is that I am on a lot of ARC lists for publishers. I'm very grateful for that. I do not take that lightly at all. And being able to access the ARCs has absolutely stopped me from buying things that if I read it, I would like it, but I'm never going to reread again. Or it wasn't something that I found that it was like I wanted to have it in my collection. Now, I'm somebody, if I read the ARC and I love it, I'm ordering it and I know like, okay, I'm going to have this and I want to have it with me physically in print. That, I know not everyone has access to that. That has been really good for me in order of making decisions on what I want to purchase or not. So the last thing that I'll say that is super helpful for me in determining buying a book is reading it from the library. I actually have one book right here. We Are Not Cut Out to Be Lovers. I actually read this first on on Hoopla. And Hoopla has an amazing catalog of manga from a lot of publishers: Kodansha, Tokyo Pop, Dark Horse, Kuma. It has a huge selection. So I will absolutely read something first from Libby, Hoopla, or the library. And if I love it enough, then I will go ahead and buy the book, because I do want to support it legally, and libraries help that. And then if I really want it and I'm like, oh, I actually want to have this all the time, I will still purchase it after I read it from the library. Something else that I consider as far as purchasing manga and the like is whether I want to have something physically versus having something digitally. Now, I say this, and I'll add this disclaimer. I know with certain book purchases that you are buying the ebooks to, you are essentially buying a license to the book, and you do not own that book. If Apple Books goes down, you lose that license. So I'm saying this with that full understanding. You know, I know people are like, you don't actually own the book. I know. Now, I have had Apple Books for 10 plus years and I have not lost a single book yet, but it is something that I know and that I keep in mind. However, if that is the only thing that is available, I will be getting it on Apple Books. So in terms of the decisions that I make buying it digitally and buying it as an ebook, it really just depends on the story. For Danmei, and this is Danmei specifically, I started buying Danmei in print, but a lot of the stories are 6+ volumes long. And while I love books, I prioritize manga and manhwa. And Danmei, for me, I'm okay if I do not own the physical books. There are some series that it's already too late. I already have it, like Run Wild and Legend of Exorcism, where I started getting them before I realized how long the series was going to be. And I was like, well, I'm already committed. I'm already getting them. But usually Danmei, I will get the ebook for. And I have zero problem with that. It also, as a reality of me and my life that I'm currently living as a mom to a toddler who is obsessed with books, but is also obsessed with coloring books, and I turn away for 1 second and everything's been doodled on, I just cannot afford to have my son draw on my books. So reading them digitally has been a huge help. It also has kept me off social media when I'm like, oh, I want to scroll and be on TikTok or be on Twitter. Actually, let me just open up my book that I have on this same device, and it has completely transformed my world. If you see my reading log this year, I'm almost at 100 books. I'm like at 80 something. And a lot of that has been because I've been able to access these books digitally. That's just the truth. Manga, I find like it's a little bit easier for me to read physically because I can, one, it doesn't take as long to read a volume of manga. So I can, after I put my son to bed, come and get a manga down because this is all in the basement. So I have to come to the basement and then take it back up with me to bed. And then I put it on shelves that he can't reach. But when it comes to like a book that I want to be reading and carrying with me all the time, I run the risk of like we're in the living room chilling, he grabs the book or something. So reading it digitally has just been a huge help. So with Danmei, if I know the series is going to be, I think my cutoff is 3 books. If it's going to be longer than 3 books, I am just getting the ebook. I've had 0 issues. I love it. Some of the publishers do, like Via Lacti, they have the ebooks that you purchase and you download the book and you own the file. That has been great. But another thing that I also keep in mind is like, God forbid the license is available, they get off Apple Books and I lose this. For me, I'm okay with being like, all right, I'll just find the book secondhand and then get the physical copy. Like and maybe speaking from a place of privilege, I'm not concerned about that. If that time does come, I have it in my heart that I will be able to find that book in print somehow, some way. I'll move the earth to find it. With manga, it also depends. I have purchased manga digitally, and some I will say I have it digital and I have it in print too. If it's only available digital, I'm going to buy it digital. But if it's available, sometimes there's like one that I love is No Touching at All. And when I first got it, it was only available digital. And then later on, the print copy came out and I bought it too. So now I have 2 copies essentially. Manga, I prefer to have the physical book. But if it's something that I'm like, it's on sale right now, let's see, I will get it as an ebook. Sometimes I'll find a random ebook and I'm like, oh, this looks cool, and I'll just buy it that way. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think I've covered all of my, processes for buying manga in my collection. I think if there's one takeaway from this, it's definitely be intentional. Be intentional of what you want, why you want it. Do you want it for social media? Do you want it for yourself? Do you want it because you are like trying to do something? Like for me, owning all of Clamp, like that has been my life goal, and that's something that I love and like want to do. But other stories, I'm like, oh, I'm okay if I don't own it. But yeah, this is just my process. This is just how it has grown and changed over the years. Again, this isn't a judgment on people who do things differently. I want to be an intentional person. Everything that I do to me has meaning, and if I can't justify something that I'm doing, to me it's not worth doing. So I love books. I'm not going to stop buying manga. I'm just not going to be making manga hauls, and I'm also going to be more selective and more intentional with what I buy and why. But if you stuck out here to the end of the video, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.